Hey guys, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be going over all of the different AML types in corn snakes. But before I do, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you are not a member of the channel and you would like the exclusive member-only content, it's $2 a month and it really helps me out a lot. You can just click join under any video of mine. And the exclusive content is things like being able to see live videos after they're over and rant videos that I do on things that maybe frustrate me. If anybody would like to be angry with me, or just little random tidbits of videos, random thoughts, sometimes just little videos that are only about 5 minutes long, just talking to you guys. So if you are interested in those, you can become a member. They don't affect the amount of education that you will get on the channel. It just kind of is a little bit extra. Also, please check out my website for corn snakes and corn snake accessories. I have books for corn snake morphs if you're interested in learning about the history of all the corn snake morphs. There's just as much stuff in the book, probably more stuff in the book than you will just get in the videos. And there are some things in the videos, of course, that are not going to be able to cram into a book, but those are also on there. And I also have t-shirts, notepads, masks, just a bunch of snake stuff. So if you like corn snakes, you can check out my website there. I will put it down in the description below for you to go to. Since we're going over different types of amelanistic corn snakes, I wanted to start out with what amelanistic really means. Amelanism pretty much is the lack of melanin. Melanin is the dark pigment in the skin. Corn snakes have three main pigments, red, black, and yellow. And so when you remove the black, you're left with mostly red and yellow. And of course, you can mix amelanistic with a lot of other things. So if you mix amel with anery, you get a snow. And of course, anery takes away the red. So you're pretty much just left with white and yellow at that point. And so we're talking about all the different types of amelanistics. And this is a little bit different from the hypotypes video because the hypotypes video all went over different mutations that are all hypomelanistic. However, there's only one amelanistic mutation in corn snakes. There is another amelanistic mutation that is separate in Imroy's rat snakes, but we're not really going to talk about that today. It does the same thing. It's just not compatible genetically with the corn snake amelanism. So a standard amelanistic is pretty much just the amelanistic version of what we would call a normal or wild type or Carolina that doesn't have any specific locality sort of attached to it. They are just white, red, and yellow. And so as long as they have all three of those colors, they are normally just considered a regular amelanistic. Amelanistic is allelic to the gene mutation ultra, which is a hypomelanistic mutation. I will be doing a deep dive on ultra just by itself, maybe also mixed with ultramel later on this month. But I did want to mention this relationship. I'm not going to go into the details about what allelic means, but basically it means there is a gene and it gets mutated, and it can either mutate in the amel type of way or in the ultra type of way. And when you breed an amel and an ultra together, you get the combination of the two. I talked a little bit about this with Hypo Strawberry and Christmas in the Hypo video, so it's a similar type of relationship. The different types of amelanistic usually depend on what locality they are mixed with. So a pure Okaty locality is actually going to be a red Zeppelin. Red Zeppelin is not something that's very common, but it is around. Howard Sherman was the one who found this mutation. It is the exact same amel mutation. It's just the only one that is known to be pure Okaty locality. And he also ended up finding Sunkissed in this as well, which I think is interesting because Sunkissed did originally pop up in Kathy Love's Okaty collection way back when it was found. So it is cool to see that Okatys really can churn out a lot of different gene mutations that can pop up pretty much at any time. But aside from Red Zeppelin, which I just kind of wanted to mention at the top of the video because it's kind of uncommon, we will go ahead and start with reverse Okaty since we're sort of on the train of thought of Okatys. Reverse Okaty is what you would consider to be an albino or an amelanistic Okaty. When someone says albino in the corn snake community, they typically do mean amel. I don't like to use the term albino because a lot of people think an albino must be completely white. Albino just means missing any pigment, so technically an anerythristic is also a type of albino, even though it's black and white. So I'm gonna refrain from using albino as much as I can, but just know if I do slip up and I use that term, I mean amelanistic. So a reverse Okaty is just the amelanistic version of an Okaty. They are going to have thick borders, and that is pretty much the main qualifier for a reverse Okaty is just having, it's just an amel that has thick borders, just like the main qualifier for an Okaty, a regular Okaty, is also having those thick borders. The next one that I'll talk about is a high white Okaty, which I can see why there would be a lot of confusion between high white and reverse Okaty, but the biggest difference is that a high white Okaty has a pretty much white background color, whereas a reverse Okaty usually does not just have a white background color. A high white reverse Okaty is going to have those thick borders, and also on top of the thick borders have a white ground color. This is different from a candy cane, which is another type of amel that does not necessarily have the thick borders but does have the white ground color. A candy cane is basically a Miami amelanistic. So Miamis have a gray or white ground color that's essentially colorless, and when you mix amelanistic in with that, you're left with the bright red saddles and then with the white ground color. So just remember the difference between a high white Okaty and a reverse Okaty is that a reverse Okaty is going to have a colored ground color. A high white reverse Okaty is going to have a white ground color but still keep the thick borders. And then a candy cane is going to have maybe thin to no borders and still have that white ground color. It is kind of confusing, but that's why I'm going over it in this video so that you guys can learn to see the difference a little bit better as well. Another version of a reverse Okaty is a fluorescent. It is different in that it usually has much brighter ground color and saddle color as well. With a lot of amels or just corn snakes in general, they often have kind of a speckling a little bit to their ground color, whereas this fluorescent is usually not going to have speckling. It will just be straight up like orange on orange or red on orange, and then you do have those thick borders. The original fluorescents did not necessarily have thick borders like this, but that is what we consider to be a fluorescent today, is pretty much a fluorescent Okaty. Sunglow is similar to fluorescent as far as the color goes, but they are going to have little to no white on the top of their bodies at all. So they are going to be essentially borderless, but still have that bright coloration of the fluorescent. And that's where we see the difference between the two. The original fluorescents maybe did not so much have the thick borders, but now there is that stark difference between the fluorescent, which do have the thick borders, and Sunglow, which do not. Either of those could potentially have some sort of color enhancing mutations such as red factor or red coat, and that's something that you would have to talk to the actual producer of these snakes about. Some people do have these other mutations in their lines and some don't. So if you're planning on buying any of these, either a fluorescent or a Sunglow, just make sure that you know exactly what gene mutations are involved, because some are just selectively bred to look like that, and some have other gene mutations that are added to make them look like that. And it's the same thing if you are trying to get a candy cane. If you get a candy cane that is het cinder, keep in mind that it is likely the cinder het that is causing the Miami type look, and not necessarily the selective breeding over time that we would see with a typical Miami. So just keep in mind, make sure you're in contact with your breeders. If you are planning on purchasing from a breeder any of these mutations, make sure you know exactly what's in their line. Hey everybody, Future Sarah here in editing. I'm sorry that this camera quality sucks. This is my laptop. But I forgot to mention the extreme reverse Okaty. I was sitting there waiting for myself to talk about it, and I never talked about it. So I do want to talk quickly about extreme reverse Okaty, which is essentially the, amelanistic version of the extreme Okaty. And when we say extreme, at least in this context, the Okaty context, what we mean is that the borders are extra thick. So, an extreme reverse Okaty is going to have very thick borders and almost no actual saddle color anymore. I don't want to say it's the goal of extreme reverse Okaty to completely remove the saddles, but essentially that is kind of the outcome of that. When the borders get thicker, it actually reduces the amount of saddle space that there is. And so when you have extreme reverse Okaty, you will often have a snake that's just orange and white, or whatever the ground color is and white. So I just wanted to mention extreme reverse Okaty is a thing, and I'm gonna go back to other Sarah in previous video. One final thing I want to mention is the creamsicle corn snake. I know a lot of people look at a creamsicle and they think, well, that just looks like an amel, and technically it is, but a creamsicle specifically is a hybrid between a corn snake and an Emery's rat snake. It's a very, very common hybrid. We talked about it last week in my book review of Mike McEachern's book, how before, back then, they actually did think that Emery's rat snakes were a subspecies of corn snake, and it turns out that they're actually a completely different species, even though they can breed with corn snakes. So when you get a creamsicle corn snake, that specifically means that somewhere in the line there was Emery's rat snake, and you do have a hybrid on your hands if you have a creamsicle. Defining features of a creamsicle are generally, of course, the creamsicle looking color, a creamy type color. A creamsicle may look similar to a buff amel combination or even a toffee amel combination, but they do have this like sort of signature creamy color to them that you don't find in a pure corn snake. And remember, if you get anything that has scaleless, whether it's het scaleless or possibly het scaleless, or anything like that, it will have some of that Emery's rat snake blood in it. So those are technically going to be creamsicles if they're an amel type. That's all I have for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you found it educational. Next week's video is actually going to be about breeding and how to breed corn snakes and what to do, what the process is for breeding them once they're out of hibernation/brumation. If you're interested in learning more about how to bring your corn snakes out of brumation, I will link a video above that I did last month, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Hey everybody, Future Sarah in editing again. I just wanted to thank you if you have made it to the end of this video, and also to all of my members who have joined the channel so far. You guys have made this so much more exciting, and you've definitely kept me motivated to continue to make videos. So I just wanted to have the most updated list when I made this video. So thank you so much to Alterna, Amy, Bridget, David, William, Raul, Robert, other Amy, and April. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have really made this like even more special to me, and it, like I said, it really helps keep me motivated. If any of you who are still watching would like to become a member, like I said in the earlier part of this video, you can click join under any video or on the main YouTube page. It will get you access to old lives after they're over, little rant videos that I post. Sometimes I post little videos of new snakes that I got, or just little snake things that I'm excited about. I'm also going to make it so only members are able to see the old videos of redos. So this video is a redo of my old amel types video. I also did a remake of my old hypo types video. Those old videos will be made for members only now. So you guys can go back and see those if you would like to kind of see the progression and the change. But since they're outdated to the general public, I'm going to make them so they're not for everybody, so that the public can kind of see the most updated information. But either way, thank you so much. Thank you so much for making to the end of this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.